Welcome everybody to another episode of Fins Nation. I am your host, Louis Sung, and today what we're going to be discussing, once again, is the Miami Dolphins running back position. Now you would think that after all this time we would run out of things to say about this, but it feels like we're just gonna keep coming back to this position. It doesn't matter who it is, it doesn't matter what is going on, we keep coming back to running back. I have never seen a football team that is more obsessed with the running back position, nor have I seen a fan base this obsessed with the running back position in such a long time. Yes, I understand that there are a lot of really good running backs out there that the Miami Dolphins could have potentially gotten their hands on, and I understand that there is some level of disappointment with the fact that Jonathan Taylor is not a Miami Dolphin, that Dalvin Cook is not a Miami Dolphin, that Derrick Henry is not a Miami Dolphin, that Josh Jacobs is not a Miami Dolphin. And just thinking off the top of my head, I remember when we were looking at the Raheem Mostert situation, the Jeff Wilson situation, all the way back near the beginning of the offseason when the Dolphins originally re-signed them, and we honestly thought, yep, all we need are those two guys back and we were good to go. Then the rumors started to churn, and all of a sudden those two guys just weren't going to cut it anymore. They just weren't good enough. And we thought that when the Dolphins drafted De'Von Achane, okay, yes, this will be the thing that satisfies everybody. We now have a running back that has a lot of potential, that has incredible speed, has the ability to become a dangerous weapon in the offense. He got hurt, grant you, but you know what? I thought for sure that we were going to be done talking about this because I know that my co-host on Pulse of Fins Nation, Ron Caniff, he thought that De'Von Achane was going to be something spectacular, something incredible. De'Von Achane has so much potential. Within the middle of the season, he'll be the starting running back for the Miami Dolphins, De'Von Achane. Well, he's injured, has a shoulder injury. He's got the red contact jersey on. So all of a sudden, nope, no De'Von Achane. But we're looking at all these other guys. I'm going to go ahead once again. I'm just going to break everything down because there is some brand new news that I can actually give to you guys. So I want to go ahead and make sure that that is in the discussion. But before that, really quick, as always, just want to go ahead and mention that this show is brought to you by our good friends over at You Brake Wheel Fix. You Brake Wheel Fix is the complete automotive wheel solution. Ever parked too close to the sidewalk curb? You Brake Wheel Fix specializes in the repair of damaged wheels from bends, cracks, and curb rash. Or maybe your wheels are faded or peeling. You don't need to replace them, as You Brake Wheel Fix can refinish them to like new. Offering complete refinish options through powder coating, machining, and polishing, You Brake Wheel Fix is the answer to all of your wheel needs. And if you're just looking to give your ride a new look, You Brake Wheel Fix also offers many car customizing options, such as new custom wheels and tires from your favorite brands, performance upgrades, window tinting, and suspension modification. Located just south of Aventura, you can reach Mark and his staff at 305-748-0112 or online at youbrakewheelfix.com. They are really active on all social media platforms at You Brake Wheel Fix, so shoot them a DM on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter and get an estimate in just minutes. So don't delay, go to You Brake Wheel Fix and start customizing your ride to show off your Dolphins fandom today. This show is also brought to you by PrizePicks.com. PrizePicks.com is the revolutionary fantasy platform where you can now pick up to 6 different players across professional sports leagues. Whether that's the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, one of each, it's up to you to decide. Just choose whether your chosen player will get more or less than their projected stat. They give you free squares, special Taco Tuesday promos, Flex Friday specials where you can get your money back if you lose or multiply the amount of money you can normally win. It wasn't that long ago that I actually won a $500 parlay, getting 6 players right all in one go, and that was the big win for me. You guys can do that too. Take advantage of that Flex Friday offer. It is the best thing. If you are any kind of a fantasy sports fan, why have you not signed up to PrizePicks already? Use the promo code 5, that's F-I-V-E, and they will match up to $100 on your initial deposit when you sign up. Again, that's promo code 5, F-I-V-E. Go to PrizePicks.com, deposit your $100, and let PrizePicks give you $100 of their dollars for you to play with, and get started winning today. Okay, everybody, so I'm just going to break down really quickly what's making me decide I want to talk about this again. So, recently, Jordan Schultz, you can find him on Twitter at Schultz_report. So, he was told, apparently, that the Vikings, the Dolphins, and the Colts, so there's the Dolphins again in that list, they all made calls about veteran running back Melvin Gordon. Okay, so Melvin Gordon has been connected to the Dolphins before, right? Several times in the past, they've always talked about, oh, Melvin Gordon is available. Maybe the Dolphins should inquire about maybe bringing him into the team. And they've always had maybe preliminary talks. We've always heard rumors that the Dolphins are interested in bringing in Melvin Gordon, maybe signing him to a contract, making him one of the guys who are going to be the running back of the team, right? But it never really materialized into anything. And even now, as Melvin Gordon is 30 years old and he actually got released by the Baltimore Ravens, the Dolphins were still somehow attached to this guy. And it just adds on to the pile of running backs that the Dolphins were apparently quote-unquote interested in, but they never decided to go out of their way to actually go and get this guy. And in spite of the fact, mind you, again, this is another Dalvin Cook situation. Melvin Gordon was a free agent after he was released by the Ravens. So instead of going to either the Vikings or the Dolphins or the Colts, apparently Melvin Gordon is electing to stay with the Baltimore Ravens on their practice squad. So here's what I'm thinking. This is just my initial reaction to that. I am guessing that Melvin Gordon realizes that J.K. Dobbins usually ends up getting hurt. So there is a distinct possibility that if he stays in Baltimore and just bides his time, eventually he will get called up to the active roster and he will get to actually play a significant amount of playing time. And again, it's kind of funny that we're looking at the Miami Dolphins running backs and saying, oh, they're so injury prone. They're so likely to end up getting hurt. They won't be able to play throughout the entire season. You know, if this was a team that was really hurting for running back depth, you would think that Melvin Gordon would look at this situation and be like, I can play with one of the best running back kind of coaches in the NFL because, again, Mike McDaniel, his background is the running game coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers. Everybody knows this. Everybody knows what kind of an offense he's putting together in Miami. Everybody knows what exactly it is that he's going to be able to help running backs find their way in this league. That's what he does best. That's what he did in San Francisco. That was his niche that Mike McDaniel himself pointed out. Obviously, he's getting to do other things now, but what was it that he was good at? It was the running game coordinator stuff. So you would think that somebody like a Melvin Gordon, who's 30 years old, is trying to recapture some of that old spark. Again, he's 30 now, so he's not the same Melvin Gordon that was a two-time Pro Bowler back during his Charger days. But I will give him this. It's a little weird seeing how teams don't seem to be willing to keep him on. All the way back when he first got to Denver, right? In 2020, when he signed with the Denver Broncos, he was actually able to do a lot of really good stuff. In 2020, he had 215 carries for 986 yards and 9 touchdowns rushing. He averaged 4.6 yards a carry, and that's not even including his receiving, because he did catch a few passes as well. He ultimately caught 32 passes for 158 yards and a touchdown. So, again, it's not like it's something incredible, but he was able to catch passes out of the backfield. 2021, again, Denver started all 16 games. 203 attempts rushing, 918 yards. Now he's at 4.5 yards a carry. As for his receptions, 28 receptions, 213 yards, and 2 touchdowns catching. And that actually puts him at 7.6 yards per reception. So it actually got better for him. 2022, things fell off a cliff. Okay? Now he has to share, obviously, more snaps with Javonte Williams. There are some other guys that are in there taking a few away. So he started only 6 games, only played in 10 of them. And during that time, he had 90 carries, 318 yards, 2 touchdowns, and averaged only 3.5 yards a carry. All right, so not great. That was the fall off. And now that the Broncos have Javonte Williams, I'm guessing that they don't see Melvin Gordon as all that important in their plans. Fine, he goes to Baltimore, works out with them, spends the preseason, and the Ravens ultimately decide to cut him. And now he has an opportunity to go elsewhere, wherever he wants. Where would he be able to revitalize his career the most? Because if he was running for almost 1,000 yards, even so far back as just 2 seasons ago, you would think that there's still something left in that tank. Maybe not a lot, but there's still something there. And he chose Baltimore. Why Baltimore? Did they offer more money? I doubt it. He's on the practice squad. So is it just a simple matter of he wants to play? Well, why would he think he would not be able to play in Miami? Is it because he just doesn't have faith in this offense? Does he not like Mike McDaniel? I really don't think it is that, guys. I really don't believe so. And I'm going to tell you what I've been saying all along, and I'm going to go ahead and just repeat it, and I'm going to use some words from Chris Grier and Mike McDaniel to back me up. So Chris Grier, as of August 30th, he had himself a little press conference, and he basically talked about the trade that did not happen with Jonathan Taylor. And so I'm going to go ahead and just briefly read this, and I quote, "It's like everything like I just talked about. Chris, as in Ballard, is a friend of mine. We've had conversations. And again, it was a lot of exploratory talks. I can say there was no exchange of offers from either one of us. It was just general talks. So a lot of the stuff reported, I could tell you guys that 95% of it's wrong. So we've had some discussions, but it's no different than any player that's ever released or available that we know about and have a discussion with the GM about it. Chris was very professional, as he always is, and so in terms of being close or anything, there was nothing really close." Okay, so that's the whole quote from Chris Grier regarding the Jonathan Taylor situation. And there is another quote that came right before that, and so I will go ahead and I will read an excerpt from this, and I quote, "So for us, we're able to do a lot of moves. We can do moves or not, but you're also aware of your roster. Like we've been consistent in saying, we feel good about our running back room. I think it showed in the preseason. Those guys have done a nice job. Mike McDaniel has always expressed confidence in them as well as myself. So for us, again, my job is when players are available, whoever they are, whether it's a Pro Bowler, journeyman on the streets that's bounced around, we're going to talk to people, make calls and do it. And for us, we felt good about the roster and very fortunate to have Steve Ross and Tom Garfinkel allow us to be aggressive at times we want to do it." So straight up, there's Chris Grier saying, in no uncertain terms, all this time, yes, we've been exploring. Yes, we've been discussing. Yes, we've been open to the idea of quote-unquote upgrading the running back room, of having these potential Pro Bowl players being added to the team in hopes of maybe, just maybe, pushing us just a little further up over the edge of where we think we can go. But never, not once, did they make the indication that they didn't like the guys that were already there. So now there have been reports that the Dolphins actually did make an offer. Barry Jackson, for one. I know that Alfredo Arteaga, the 3 yards per carry crew, they've been saying the same thing. There have been a lot of reports that the Dolphins did, in fact, make an offer for Jonathan Taylor. Now here comes Chris Grier saying that no, we didn't. We were just discussing things. There is no offer. There was no such a thing. So whether you believe that there was no offer or not is ultimately irrelevant to the discussion. Because even if there was an offer, the Dolphins made it clear that they are not looking to give up everything to grab that one dude, that one running back that would make the difference. They did not give Dalvin Cook $8 million a year like the New York Jets did. They did not give the Indianapolis Colts a first-round pick plus to get Jonathan Taylor. And now we're hearing that the other mystery team that they were competing against was the Green Bay Packers. Well, I'm willing to bet that the Green Bay Packers just came out and said, oh no, we weren't interested in Jonathan Taylor. I'm almost positive that that was the case. But either way, these guys that are already on the roster, the Dolphins are loaded at running back right now. And not even in the sense of they're really good. I mean, literally speaking, they are loaded with running backs. The Dolphins kept, obviously, Raheem Mostert. They still have Jeff Wilson. They still have Devon Achane. They still have Savon Ahmed. They still have Chris Brooks, who made the 53-man roster. And by the way, he deserves it. He's the biggest running back on the team. And right now, the fact that he was able to do an incredible job in the preseason, he did an amazing job in training camp. He's the real physical bruiser back. And he even said during his own press conference that that's what he feels like he does best. So maybe the Dolphins recognize that they need somebody who can do that. And Chris Brooks is it. And of course, where does that leave the Miami Dolphins? That means Mostert 1, Wilson 2, Achane 3, Ahmed 4, Brooks 5. 5 running backs. And then if you count Alec Ingold as a fullback, that's 6. Do the Dolphins look like they're hurting for depth at running back? We've been talking all this time about, and on Twitter and everywhere on shows, how wonderful Chris Brooks has looked, how impressed we were with this undrafted free agent, this bruiser of a running back who's just running over everybody in preseason. And I get it. It's all backups. When you reach the point where Chris Brooks is running the football, you're not playing against legitimate NFL starters anymore at that point. You are playing against the scraps. But Chris Brooks still looked good. These guys are still big, strong players. They're just not as experienced. Just because you haven't been in the NFL, or maybe you're not as good as some other people, you're still 200, 300 something pounds, aren't you? You still know how to run fast, don't you? So I'll give them that. Chris Brooks did a fantastic job given the opportunities that he was given. He's being very mature about his situation. He's not looking at this like, oh, he's just upset because he may never get a chance to play because he's got all these guys ahead of him. He's waiting for his opportunity, and when it comes, which it will, by the way, I'm sure it will, either because of injury or because it's just a situational thing and they may need him, there will be a time for Chris Brooks. But all these rumors, all these talks about one running back, like they're interested in Derrick Henry. The Dolphins are rumored to be interested in Derrick Henry. The Dolphins are rumored to be interested in Jonathan Taylor. The Dolphins are rumored to be interested in Josh Jacobs, in Saquon Barkley, in just about every single free agent running back that you could get your hands on. If there was a disgruntled running back somewhere in the NFL, then the Miami Dolphins were connected to him. If there was somebody who was looking to get a new home as a free agent and they were somebody who was interested, it almost feels like the only ones that the Dolphins were not linked to for one reason or another was Leonard Fournette and Ezekiel Elliott. And Ezekiel Elliott, of course, now is a New England Patriot. But it just feels weird to me. Like, you're going to go through all these other ones. Why not make him linked to Ezekiel Elliott? I don't know. But the one thing that has remained consistent this entire time, and again, I'm not the only one who's been saying this. Orlando Alzagari, Big O Show, kudos to him because he's been on top of this all this time. Every single time that there's been talk about the Dolphins being connected to a running back, he's been consistent in saying, nope, not going to happen. Not going to happen. And you know what? I'm firmly convinced of the same thing the entire time. I was hoping, crossing my fingers when it came to Dalvin Cook because I thought they could have him at a cheap price. I've hoped that he would take a hometown discount. I had hoped that we wouldn't have to, because of that, we wouldn't have to give up a whole lot of assets to be able to get somebody like a Dalvin Cook. I do not want to trade for anybody. The Dolphins need draft picks. The Dolphins need these young, cheap players if they are going to be able to maintain this level of roster in the future. We already know that Cam Smith is looking good. He's looking solid. He's made a couple mistakes here and there, but he's been looking pretty good. Kader Kohu, obviously, has been looking really good. You're going to need these guys because in a few years' time, either next year or the year after that, it's very likely that Xavier Howard will be gone, and you need to replace him with somebody good. Kader Kohu might be that guy. You're going to need these extra draft picks because when Emmanuel Ogbah leaves, and he will probably leave next year because the Dolphins can't afford to keep this up, he will probably leave, and the Dolphins will need to find a way to replace him without having too much of a drop-off of talent. That requires draft picks. By the way, same thing might just happen to Jerome Baker. They're going to need somebody who can step in and take over that role, and I don't know if it's going to be Andrew Van Ginkel. I don't know if it's going to be somebody else that they're going to have to draft, but again, they need draft picks. They've been trading away all these picks to build this incredible all-star roster, this dream team of a football team, in the hopes of winning a Super Bowl, and just like the Los Angeles Rams, that kind of money spending is not going to be sustainable. You are going to have to cut corners somewhere. And in order to do that, you have to be able to draft replacements. Good ones who can be developed and can grow into the role. So for the Dolphins to keep giving up draft picks like that, I think they know and they realize that we can't give up everything if it means just getting one dude, especially somebody who, like it or not, is still a running back, and you can still find really good running backs in this NFL just by drafting them. Will Devon Achane become that guy? That remains to be seen. We shall see. We shall see if he develops and grows into the role, but you never know. Jonathan Taylor is one of the best running backs in football. He may be the best running back in football. And who knows, he may still be a Dolphin someday because the trade deadline, technically speaking, is not until October 31st. Now, even if the Dolphins did trade for him now, he would still have to be out for the first 4 weeks because he's listed on the PUP list. I don't know why the Indianapolis Colts, I don't know why Jim Irsay is going out of his way to upset his greatest offensive weapon, but that's not for me to worry about. That's for him to deal with. And as far as I'm concerned, if the Dolphins want to get him next season, if he's a free agent, go for it. I don't care anymore. I don't want to have to give up assets to be able to get this guy. If you want to sign him as a free agent, be my guest. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. In fact, I will probably encourage it because then you don't have to give up draft picks to do it. That's the difference. That's the big difference. Keep your draft picks. You will need them because these Dolphins, they're really good, but you're still going to have to churn that roster a little bit to keep paying for all these guys. Tyreek Hill is expensive. Tua is going to be expensive. Jalen Phillips is going to be expensive. Jalen Waddle is going to be expensive. Javon Holland is going to be expensive, and I'm still crossing my fingers that they will find a way to hang on to Christian Wilkins, whether it's because of guaranteed money or because he wants a higher annual salary, whatever the case may be. The Dolphins need to hang on to Christian Wilkins. I will hold on to that until the day I die. He is very, very much the anchor of the defense. He is the most important piece of that defense as far as I'm concerned. I don't care what other people have to say about that sacks are more important. If Christian Wilkins ends up getting 30 plus more sacks than every other defensive lineman in the NFL, then that just goes to tell me that there's something about Christian Wilkins that's missing from all the other guys. Yes, the other guys get more sacks. Christian Wilkins is causing more chaos on a regular basis. He just is, and I'm sure the tape proves that. But that's a different story. The running back position, now they're linked to Melvin Gordon, linked to Josh Jacobs, linked to Saquon Barkley. You'd think the Dolphins were upset with the running back room, but as far as I am concerned, the Dolphins are very clearly not losing any sleep over who is actually on the team right now. It's actually very interesting. Raheem Mostert literally came out the other day and said that all these people with sources, all these people who say that they know something that everybody else doesn't. Raheem Mostert basically called them out and said, y'all are full of crap. He didn't say it in so many words, but he did say it. And so, good for him. I'm glad that he stood up for himself, and I think he knows from the team that, listen, he's the number one guy in Miami. He knows he is. And as far as I'm concerned, he deserves it. He worked his butt off last year, and he's going to do it again this year. And I'm really excited to see what this offense does with Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson and Devon Achane and Savon Ahmed and Chris Brooks. Let's get all of these guys running like wild in this scheme. As far as I'm concerned, these guys are more than good enough to get the job done. Dolphins don't need another running back. We are good. So that's going to be it for this show. Thank you all so much for listening. There's still going to be more roster churning. Maybe next tomorrow we'll be talking about the practice squad guys, who made it, who didn't make the cut, who got claimed, who I'm most disappointed about getting claimed. There's a whole lot of stuff that we still have to talk about. The season is almost upon us. I'm very excited to be able to talk about some actual football games. So make sure that you're tuned in here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. We still have so much content to offer. And of course, if you're somebody who needs to get your wheels fixed up, or if you just want to give your ride a new look, go to YouBreakWheelFix.com. You can give them a call at 305-748-0112. And of course, go to PrizePicks.com, use the promo code 5, that's FIVE, and they will match up to $100 on your initial deposit when you sign up using that promo code. We will see you all tomorrow for another episode of Fins Nation.